order. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. I ask that everybody remain respectful and civil as we work our way through tonight's agenda. Again, thank you for being here as we do the business of the county that is so important. Before we get started, I am going to ask Councilman Alex Sada if he would please lead us in the invocation tonight.
Heavenly Father, we know the greatest wisdom always comes to those who choose to follow, serve, and honor you. Be with each councilman tonight as he exercises wisdom. May we honor you through our discussion, debate, and votes. And may the results of our decisions truly benefit the citizens of Pickens County. God bless our troops around the globe and stateside, as well as our law enforcement officers, in particular the family of Police Officer Matthew Hare, formerly of the Easley Police Department, who was killed in duty last year, August 2023. In your loving name, Jesus, dear Lord, we pray, amen.
Amen. This time I have the honor to ask Ronnie Eugene Phillips, who honorably served our country in the United States Army from May the 23rd of 1968 until February 28th, 1970. During Specialist 4th Class Phillips' time of service, he was awarded the National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, 2 Overseas Service Bars, M14 Marksmanship Badge, Wheeled Vehicle Driver Badge, Auto Mechanic Badge, Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm Ribbon, Army Good Conduct Medal, and Mechanic Badge. Specialist Phillips resides here in Pickens County with his wife Sharon. Tonight, it's an honor to ask Veteran Ronnie Phillips to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Mr. Phillips, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your service to our county. It's a small token of appreciation tonight from this county.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm counting it as a whole week.
Something great that we get to do. We are truly blessed here in our county of folks that have served our country proudly, and it's great to recognize them. This time it takes us to our public forum. This is an opportunity for the community to give us feedback. I want to remind everyone that we get 3 minutes. We go for a total of 30 minutes. And please be respectful, as this is not a town home, it is the town hall. It is a time for you to share with us your concerns and feelings. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the first speaker.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, I call Kathy Lee.
I'm nervous. I don't know anything about it, but I was never got to talk fast. But the pictures she showing me didn't happen from Helene. Actually, after Helene came through, it cleaned about half of that. We've been dealing with this for 5 years trying to get this cleaned up. We've been environmental control, building code inspector, everybody. We cannot get this cleaned up. Environmental control says all they can do is fine. We can't make it cleaned up. We need some help. And finally, DHEC trespassed people trying to live in campers, they live in a shack and build an outhouse. And so, but environmental control says they can't get it cleaned up. All they can do is give them a fine. And, you know, I wonder how much they're fining, you know, not very much. They don't take the effort to get it cleaned up.
I believe Mr. Rucker wants to get some more information from you.
Robert Nickel.
My name is Robert Nickel. I'd like to thank you guys for your service and ladies for your service. We appreciate it. I feel like you do a good job. I'm here tonight to talk about RV parks. My wife and I have done a lot of volunteer work for storm relief. We have found there's a huge need for temporary housing for people displaced from the storm. And it's impossible to do temporary housing for because the process in normal counties, just like in Ashe County, and Ogden County, and everywhere up around where the storm damage hit western North Carolina, the normal process, you have to apply for zoning, planning to put in RV parks or RVs on the property. Then you have to put in septic, power, water, everything that is involved with it. My wife and I have a piece of property that is ready to go. It's approved for mobile homes, but we would like to put RVs there temporarily. And after the people find a place to live, we would like to put mobile homes there or turn it into an RV park, one or the other. But my oldest son is an electrician. He travels. He pulls a fifth wheel. He's in Washington State right now working, staying in an RV park. It's a very nice, controlled, gated RV park. It's not a trash hole. It's a very nice place. He has to find a place like that in every state that he goes to do electrical work, usually for federal contracts. And they're very far and few between, and most of them are not a place you would want to live. We would like to be able to do that in Pickens County, to provide a place for temporary people to live, not in trash holes, but make a very controlled environment, adhering to any standards that the county puts in place for it, not putting something in on the side cheap, just doing something really nice that offers temporary, affordable housing for people that are in transit or doing like nurses that come into a county or work at the hospital. It's hard to find a place to temporarily house them, and an RV park geared for that is perfect for that. And also contractors, just like what's going on in our county right now, in every county in that path of that storm, there's hundreds of people in every county in a 500-mile line from Florida to Tennessee that need places to live while they're doing recovery work. There's nowhere for people that lost homes to live, and there's nowhere for people that come into these communities to do that work, to stay temporarily. And I just would love to see the county lift the moratorium on RV parks so that people like me and my wife can put something in that would be an asset to the county, would bring people in that will live here, they'll spend money in the stores, buying groceries, cigarettes, beer, whatever they're buying, they're gonna put money in the county, and it will provide a safe, clean environment for them to put a RV while they're doing that. Usually it's only for 2, 3, 6 months at the most, not something where people move in and live, just a place to temporarily live while they get their lives back in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caleb Green.
I put my name on that. I not planning to be here until I saw a bunch of Facebook posts in the last couple of days about a couple of items. One, Mr. Mitchell talked about RV parks, and I'm aware of the moratorium right now, and I'm also against it. The main thrust, I think, seems to be that people think of these as 1,000-acre lots for rusting hulks surrounded by garbage, and I don't think that's the case. And most of them that are here before the moratorium, and the ones that most people are planning to have, I have a single spot. I've never made, you've never heard of it because I've never made more than $600 on it. So, folks here need to live somewhere. People that are going to be in these places, they're either going to be retirees, which you all love to make developments for, and they've decided to live in RVs instead of $1 million lake home. And they're not going to live in a dump. They're going to be surrounded by garbage. They're driving RVs and cars that are worth more than what I make here. Or they're young people who have no housing supply in this county. These people are desperately trying to fill a need that the market here is not fulfilling. They need somewhere to live, and RVs or tiny homes fill that market need. It's not small government. It's not conservative to use the power of government to stop people from living the way they want to in these places and meeting that market need. It's capitalistic, and so I'm against it. It's a symbol of something that's broken. The noise I also saw is some kind of low-income housing. I'm not super familiar with the details, but the main argument against it is that these folks will only get 25% of the equity. It'll be offset with tax. I'm not familiar with tax stuff, so I'm going to talk about that. In terms of it's saviorism, it's folks who've already made it
that are pulling the ladder up behind me. And to me, 25% equity in a house that you didn't have to risk in building sounds like a pretty good deal. It sounds like a pretty good down payment on your next home when you've had time and stability in the home that you could have been provided, that you're paying for, versus zero equity in more HUD apartments or in rundown trash trailers that are available, or the dump mill houses. They get zero equity. So it's 25% sounds pretty good. It's not 100, but it sounds it's more than zero, and that's what they've got now. And apartments in rural areas. Density means more open space. Doesn't mean less space. You can put 1,000 people in 10 acres of apartments, or you can put 1,000 people in 250 acres.
Thank you, sir.
In houses.
Thank you, sir.
Bill McKinney.
Council, thank you for the good work on the UDSO to this point. Appreciate the knowledgeable and intelligent have, fortunate to have in this county. I'm here to speak about the last portion that is of the third reading today, specifically as it applies to duplexes, townhouses, apartments, and things of that nature in the county. As it is currently written and to be voted on, it has a mirroring of the municipalities that it touches as a rule for the density that it can afford. And if we vote that in, then we are giving power and authority over county to municipalities to make decisions that then affect how we can do it. I don't have the authority to speak in the city of Easton, which is, where I live in the county outside of Easton. I can speak at their city meetings. I can't vote. If they change those rules, it changes then how our county gets developed. And I have no say so, I have no authority. And you will have voted away my representation. And so therefore, I think we have to vote this down as it is written now. We should tier the density just as we have worked to tier the single family housing. We already have the map drawn now. We got the different areas in the county. The green areas that can take higher density, of course, should be allowed to have higher density. Right now, we have a situation where a sewer line runs through an area that is more moderately spaced or not very dense. But if there's a sewer there, we're going to allow very dense development of these types of houses. And what that would do is it would actually incentivize a developer to not build regular standalone single-family housing, but instead to cram in as many townhomes as they can, because it's not part of the rule. And so that's not what we're going for at all. And so I think that has to be amended. That section needs to be reworked. It's untenable as it sits right now. And I just hope that we vote that down, take another month to get it right. Right here at the end, we need to tear it down, and the county needs to make the rule, not leave it up to a municipality or various municipalities, and give away our authority to govern ourselves to someone else where we have no say so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Henty.
Hello, everyone. I'm speaking tonight on the proposed density of townhomes. We have worked so hard on this UDSO that to create loopholes for developers at this late stage would be very disappointing. As you know, Pickens County has a long history of agriculture, huge tracts of land that can be sold and rapidly change our landscape with one fell swoop. That makes what we are doing tonight so important here. To that end, we need to make sure that the information we are receiving is not only correct, but we are comparing apples to apples. For instance, I talked to Ms. Jennifer Passage, that's the planning director for Liberty, Pickens, and Central. She let me know that the way her municipalities look at it, a unit is a townhome. A building can have 8 townhomes or units, and if each building has 4 units in it, there could be 2 buildings max, because that would be 8 units per acre. And for the cities that she represents, there can be 8 or 16 per acre, depending on the zone type. Those are maximum numbers. There's no difference between septic or sewer, since most areas are served by sewer. For the county in the current UDSO that is being updated, it states that a townhome is 3 or more attached single-family units and shall not exceed 2 units per acre when served by septic. So 6 or more total units when served by septic, and 4 units per acre when served by sewer, so 12 units or more when served by sewer. So you can see the municipalities versus the county view differs. We need to have a similar view with the same nomenclature so that we are talking apples to apples. We should pause and extend the moratorium to ensure that we have the proper info. So, number 1, do we have the right data with similar nomenclature to confidently ensure we are creating the best laws? And number 2, many of us, or some of us at least, propose no townhomes in natural heritage, agriculture, or Appalachian. If we must give in, then density should be tiered, with more density in Gateway and less as we go towards Appalachian areas. This follows our comprehensive plan and the current structure for subdivisions and open space. Number 3, I will leave you with some real-world examples. I live near 2-lane Highway 8, which is very distressed over by the high school. There are 3 huge tracts of land that are being developed there now, all less than 2 miles away from each other, and all of which jump onto Highway 8. The proposed school on 40-acre Zion Church Road, 18 acres on Johnson Road and Anderson Highway, 22 acres for sale on Pelzer Highway. Whatever you decide tonight will have real impacts to that area. Please help us to provide more tools and not just, although we appreciate the traffic study, but more tools in the traffic study. We need to close these loopholes and build infrastructure first. Finally, in executive session, please do not vote for the tip tax. There are better ways to achieve affordable housing. There isn't enough data on this and could have unintended consequences of gentrification. They don't provide transparency, and housing is a state and federal issue. This is mission creep. And thank you for all you do.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, this concludes the public.
Thank you. I'll bring us to item 3 on tonight's agenda, which is the approval of minutes. I'll ask for a motion to approve the October 7th council meeting minutes and October 21st committee of the whole meeting. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That brings us to item 4 on tonight's agenda, which is the administrator's report. Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Appreciate the opportunity to update you on a few things going on with the county operations. I know this is, I guess, a 4-page agenda, so I'll try to keep my portion brief. That being said, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's an election happening tomorrow for those of you that might have turned on the television or listened to the radio or gone to your mailbox anytime in the last couple of weeks. But we have had early voting at several locations here in Pickens County, and it's been a pretty well-utilized resource. I bring it up tonight to just show you these numbers, which I think are very interesting. 43% of the folks that are eligible to vote in Pickens County have already voted in Pickens County. Now, their votes by law can't be tabulated until the polls close 7 p.m. tomorrow night. But I do think it's a good sign when that many people have taken advantage of the early voting opportunities. Basically, if you look at the different places people have voted, a little over 9,000 voted right here at the County Administration Building over the last 2 weeks. At the Easley Library, 15,000 people voted. At the Clemson Central Library, 7,600. Holly Springs Learning Center, almost 2,000. And at the Dacusville Community Center, about 3,500. So folks all around the county are able to take advantage of that early voting. I want to say Dr. Sams and her staff have been amazing during this time period. It's always a stress on, I'm sure it is, the libraries and the other locations. But here at County Administration, it's always a stress because we have a lot of people moving around the building, and then we have those people queued up to vote, the voting machines and that process. Melanie Ginn here with voters, with the Veterans Office. I'm sure she could tell you because it happens right outside her door. So it's a stressful two-week period, but the voter registration folks, the board members that were appointed, their staff, Dr. Sams, have just done a wonderful job. And it's heartening to watch those public servants do the work that they're doing. So if you haven't voted, we encourage you to come to your individual precinct. You can call the voter registration office tomorrow and they'll tell you where that precinct is if you don't know, and go and get out and vote. So we encourage you there. Boards and commissions, I know under our process that the council's clerk has led and reformed and tried to emphasize, you all will be set to make some boards and commission appointments here in the coming month. I know you've received a lot of applications. I just want to stress to you all what you know, but I want to say this in the public, is that the workings of these boards and commissions are the ground level of good government. Folks looking to get involved in government, this is the perfect way to get involved in government. And for the folks that you've appointed, you all, members of council in the past that have done the good work that they've done, some of them are here in the room tonight. I see library board members, I see planning commission members here in the room right now. And so this is really the ground level of how county government works, and I wanted to thank you for doing that. I also wanted to point out one particular board, our Board of Assessment and Appeals, that has a couple of folks that have applied for it, but I'm sure that a couple of you will recognize why I bring this up. We really need to make sure we get people on that board. We have folks that have been appealing their assessment, and that appeal is dragging on month over month over month. And I know it's frustrating for them and it's frustrating for us, but we need some good board members. That's a tough board to get folks on because it needs to be somebody with a real estate background or an appraiser background, something of that nature. So we just ask you in the next 30 days to really think on that and encourage people to apply. Contact Megan about the Board of Assessment and Appeals, which is a huge, important part of the functioning of the county government, particularly given that next year is a reassessment year. We're going to need to make sure we got that board filled out. So I wanted to point that one out to you. The public safety building, you all recall back in the early summer, you all voted to move forward with a bidding process on the public safety building. That bid has been developed and it has been advertised and it is open. I can tell you that we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting and we had 17 contractors present for that pre-bid meeting, which we took as a very encouraging sign. Those bids will be opened on the 14th of this month. So just here in about 10 days, the bids will be opened. And then we anticipate coming back to you as you instructed us to do with that bid and looking for that funding source for you all to approve at your next meeting. So we're excited about that. We're very pleased at the response that we've had thus far. Competition is always a good thing. And so we're excited about that. Brush update, I can tell you that we continue with the recovery from Hurricane Helene. And as many of you have known and you've seen me say and you've seen county staff say, the important thing is if you have brush, if you could push it up onto the right-of-way in your neighborhood, and as long as you live on some type of public street, whether it be a state highway, a county road, a city street, a contractor will come through and take that brush if you get it up on the right-of-way. It doesn't work behind gated subdivisions, private roads, things like that. That's not what we're talking about. But public streets, if you can get your brush up there, I can tell you that that is going on in Pickens County right now. They've been working in the Pickens area today. They were working in Easley some last week. So they've done a lot of their saw work where people have pushed stuff up and they need to chop it up to get it to the right size. So they've been doing that. They have 6 trucks that have been working in Pickens County up to now with 2 more trucks to start next Monday. So if you see those private contractors around, they do have authorization to be doing that. They are probably not going to pick up things like leaves or grass clippings or those sorts of things. They're not. And I've gotten that complaint a couple times today. They're going to be picking up the limbs, the logs, the big heavy stuff, and then taking that on. But we'll keep you updated as we know more. It's underway, it's going well, but we do ask for patience. We know that that's going to take a few more weeks before they've made it through the entire county. But we want to encourage people on the brush. And then Operation Greenlight for Veterans. This is a program that was put forth by the National Association of Counties. All of you are familiar with NACO. But basically, it lets our veterans know that county government is here to help them. Melanie is here month after month to help our veterans. The way that you all allow veterans to lead the pledge is a good symbol of the way county government is here to support our veterans. And Operation Greenlight is something that we'll all participate with. I apologize. I thought I had one of the green lights here with me, but I think you all had them in your bags. We appreciate those folks from NACO sending the Operation Greenlight information and the way that our Veterans Affairs Office helps us collaborate on that. So we're excited about that. Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Mr. If you don't mind, after the meeting, just don't want to turn it into a town hall.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I apologize. But we're very excited about Operation Greenlight, and we know you have that on your agenda for tonight. But thank you, Ms. Guillen, for handing that out. Thank you.
Mr. Roper, I believe if anyone has any questions, wants more information, you'll be available here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a good point. Good point. That being said, I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Mr. Roper, I just wanted to clarity's sake, because I know the status of our grinder from time to time. For clarity's sake, is this contractor grinding for us as well, or just picking up?
They're picking up. They are grinding, in some cases, in the county. There's a couple of laydown yards they have where they're doing that work, but they're not bringing it to us at the landfill, which is a very good point you make. Our grinder is having a belt replaced right now. That's the reason I smile. But it hasn't interfered with operations at the main landfill, and it should be back up and running here in the next day or two.
Perfect.
So, no, it's not interfering or crossing stream, so to speak, with what we've got going on at the landfill.
Other questions for Mr. Roper?
I have a question.
Councilman Wallace?
Mr. Roper, do you have any kind of cost estimate on what this brush pickup is gonna be?
We don't at this time. It's a reimbursable expense through the FEMA process. And we're going to be getting more and more information on that over the next few weeks, and I'll pass that on to you when I have it.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Roper? Mr. Roper, I know that we're still probably finding things, learning things, all the things. Can we get an update maybe next month on where we stand as far as cost, expenses, and those kinds of things related to the storm, the impact on our communities?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will have that information by then, a good estimate on where we stand. I will tell you, since you brought this up, it's a fair point. I believe it's on the 17th. We're having our after-action review where our EOC staff, our emergency services folks, we're going to go back and deconstruct everything that happened to see what lessons we've learned. We certainly hope that we never have a storm like that again. But if we do, we want to make sure we've learned every lesson only once. So we'll report back on both the costs that we've incurred, the reimbursement rate we're anticipating, and also what we've learned in our after-action review.
Mr. Chairman Foster?
I do have a good question. Are we going to be able to be reimbursed for, I know that when we took a tour and there's a lot of areas in the county that have all the trees that are down, and part of the concern is you got to remove that debris. It's not necessarily on the roads or in somebody's yard, but you don't want to have a pinnacle fire happen again. When they go in to remove that, is that a part of what we can be reimbursed for?
Yeah, so I don't have a good answer for that, although it's a question that's been asked to me a couple of times, knowing that huge amounts of brush put in one area could create a fire hazard down the road. That was an animal outside that's here to serve. But it's something that we'll look into and get more information back to you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Thank you.
One more question.
Councilman Wallace?
Landfill related too. Since MRR is going, are we seeing any difference in what's coming into our solid waste versus what they're taking in, and are we squared away with them?
We aren't squared away with them, and I would defer to the county attorney on that information. So they didn't open when they should have opened under the contract, but they are open now. So there's a financial aspect to that where they owe us money for not having opened on time. We do see a difference. It's not a huge difference because we're not the same waste stream, so to speak. Our landfills for the locals, you don't have to pay. You come on in unless it's a commercial contractor, those sorts of things, or big gigantic loads. So they're taking C and D, but it's not the stuff that we would normally be getting at our landfill. So that's going well. It's good that they're opened as they agreed to under the agreement that Mr. Hendricks was able to negotiate with them. But more work to do there.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Ms. River, I don't mean to be insensitive for people who are still dealing with struggles of their homes. But last weekend, my family went on a hike near Sassafras Mountain, and the majority of the trail was unpassable because of trees, so we chose somewhere else. It's the season where a lot of people are hiking. We have great trails and parks. Ended up using all trails to try to, people were self-reporting what was closed and wasn't. Is there any possibility of, has the county, now that we've gone assessing residents and safety, is there any movement towards understanding parks and trails that we have that are often advertised this time of year as a great place to go, but aren't? Is there any place where that information is updated, or if we have any knowledge of it?
You can check the county website under our PRT department for what's going on with our parks. But we've actually done very well with our parks. For example, in the early days of the storm, the Forestry Commission was able to clear a lot of the debris from Mile Creek Park, and we've been very pleased with that. We came through at Mile Creek Park very well. Aquani and Katichi have some issues that we'll have to deal with, but we're doing okay with those. But when it comes to a lot of the hiking trails, we don't own a lot of the hiking trails or do maintenance for a lot of the hiking trails. But we're still trying to find ways that we can help. I know that some of these, for example, the Foothills Trail is maintained by a group of volunteers. We've been trying to see if maybe we could surplus some of our excess chainsaws so that they could use them and that would help them. So we're looking for opportunities to help out there, even though we don't have primary responsibility for a lot of those trails.
Thanks.
Other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Rucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brings us to item number 5 on tonight's agenda. And the first item is log number 231, which was the ATAX application for the 30% ATAX group. It comes as a recommendation. Councilman Wilson made, I made a motion to approve the ATAX proposal presented. Councilwoman Linville seconded the motion. It carried. Councilman Wilson amended the motion to approve the proposal and open the application process for 30-day ATAX funding for remaining funds. Motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Costner, and it carried 6-0. So the motion coming out of committee tonight would be to approve the Lake Hartwell and the Upcountry, South Carolina request for the 30% money. Now, it does not require a motion, as it does come from committee or a second, but I do want to make note, this is for those two items that we heard first. I know that it could be somewhat confusing, but this is for those two items. The other items will be later on in the agenda tonight. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries.
I vote no.
Did you vote no? I apologize. Opposed? I apologize, Vice Chairman Costner.
Thank you.
Okay, so I apologize. 5-1 with Vice Chairman Costner against. Next up on the committee log was UDSO. We discussed, go ahead.
So that wasn't to, you don't have to have a motion to open the application process because it's already open? Or is that just?
We made a motion to open the application process. If you look under tonight's agenda, under other agenda items, A, consideration of 30% ATAX funding applications is authorized by action under agenda items 5A and 1.
Thank you.
Correct?
That's right.
Correct. Thank you. Next on the committee was log number 141 UDSO, which would be impact fees, RP parks, townhomes, and multifamily. Those items were all voted out tonight. They are listed under the agenda under third reading. Item A. I can read through those committee minutes though, just for clarity. So for RV parks, motion was made to adopt the language of the Greenville County Ordinance in section 567, design standards for A, B, C, and D. That was seconded by Councilman Wilson. I then amended the motion to include a minimum of 5 acres and include the maximum of 10 acres in those areas. Motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Wilson, by Councilman Wilson, and that was unanimous 6-0. Councilman Seda made a substitute motion to the amendment to strike out the grade and/or selection to B1A in the Pickens County UDSO. Councilman Lawless seconded that motion, and that was unanimous 6-0. I then made a motion to move that out for third reading tonight, and that was seconded by Councilman Wilson, and it carried 6-0. Townhomes, Councilman Wilson made a motion to limit the townhome discussion to 20 minutes. That was seconded by myself, and that was a 3-3 vote, which meant it died. Discussion was had by staff. Councilman Wilson made a motion to accept staff recommendations on densities for townhomes as presented. Councilwoman Linville seconded that motion. Councilman Seda made an amended motion to drop that on sewer to the current DSO standard, which is 4 units per acre for sewer. and 2 units for septic in the Appalachian agriculture and natural heritage areas. I made a motion, or I seconded that amended motion. Then made a substitute motion to adopt the equivalent of staff recommendation, but change Appalachian and agriculture areas to 4 units per acre on sewer, natural heritage, and community center areas to mirror what the current municipality standards are, and gateway areas would be 20 units per acre on sewer. Councilman Wilson seconded that motion. It carried 4-2. Councilman Seda and Councilwoman Limble opposed. The original motion was amended, carried 4-2, with Councilman Seda and Councilwoman Limble opposing. Councilman Wilson made a motion to accept the apartment recommendations from the staff. That motion was seconded by Councilwoman Limble. I made a motion to amend to change the community center areas to mirror what the current municipality ordinances are. The motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Costner. It carried 5-1 with Councilwoman Limble opposed. The original motion was amended, carried 5-1 with Councilwoman Limble opposing. Councilwoman Wilson made a motion to adopt the staff recommendation on duplexes. That motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Costner. Councilman Wilson amended the motion to adopt the staff recommendation as written with addition of 8 units per acre on public water. Motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Costner. I made a substitute motion for density for duplexes to match the townhome on sewer. That motion was seconded by Councilman Wilson. It carried 5-1. Councilman Seda opposed. The motion as amended carried 5-1. I then made a motion to move the following motions out for third reading at tonight's meeting. That motion was seconded by Vice Chairman Costner, and it carried 6-0. We'll not take action on that as part of the committee report tonight, as that will be part of third reading this evening for those items. That now brings me to council correspondence. The next council meeting will be here on Monday, December 2nd at 6:30 in council chambers. The next committee of the whole meeting will be on Monday, November 11th at 6 o'clock in the main conference room of the admin building. Also received from Pickens County Favor that Pickens County council members are invited to attend an open house for Favor, Upstate's new Pickens County Center. Favor Upstate provides free addiction recovery service to individuals and families suffering with substance use disorder. The open house is set for 4 to 6 on November 22nd at their center, located in the gym building of Brushy Creek Baptist Church in Easley. They will have refreshments, live music, and a ribbon cutting. Are there any other correspondence that need to be announced tonight? Hearing none, that takes me to item number 7 on tonight's agenda, which is motion period new business. Are there any motions or new business at this time? Hearing none, that brings me to item number 8 on tonight's agenda, which is ordinances for first reading and/or resolutions. First, I'll ask for a motion to consideration of resolution in recognition of Family Court Awareness Month. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. Next, I have consideration of a resolution supporting Operation Green Light for veterans in Pickens County. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. Next, I have first reading and title only of an ordinance number 658 to develop the jointly owned and operated industrial business park in conjunction with Oconee County. Such industrial business park to be geographically located in Oconee County and established pursuant to Section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976 as amended, to provide for a written agreement with Oconee County to provide for the expenses of the park, the percentage of revenue application, and the distribution of fees in lieu of ad valorem taxation and other matters related thereto. This is for Project Shaker. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That carries. Next is first reading and title only of ordinance number 659, authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreements by and between Pickens County and South Carolina SC Speedway Highway 124 LLC, acting for itself or one or more project sponsors, pursuant to which the county will covenant to accept certain negotiated payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to certain facilities within the county. the execution and delivery of reimbursement agreement by and between Pickens County and SC Speedway Highway 124 LLC concerning the reimbursement of certain infrastructure costs and other matters related thereto. Ask for a motion and a second.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lemon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. Next up is consideration of an inducement resolution identifying a project to satisfy the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 44 of the South Carolina Code, so as to allow investment expenditures incurred by SC Speedway Highway 124 LLC, their sponsor affiliates, and related entities to qualify as expenditures eligible for a fee in lieu of ad valorem tax agreement with Pickens County, South Carolina, providing for any other necessary agreements with SC Speedway Highway 124 LLC to affect the intent of this resolution, approving a memorandum of understanding in connection with such actions and other matters related thereto.
Motion.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That carries. Item F, consideration of an inducement resolution identifying a project to satisfy the requirements of Title 12, Chapter 44 of the South Carolina Code, so as to allow investment expenditures incurred by South Carolina Handling LLC and SC Speedway Highway 124 LLC, their sponsor affiliates, and related entities to qualify as expenditures eligible for a fee in lieu of ad valorem tax agreement with Pickens County, South Carolina, providing for any other necessary agreements with the company to affect the intent of this resolution and other matters related thereto. For a motion and a second.
Motion.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. I think that's all my first. How about it? That brings us now to item 9 on tonight's agenda, which is ordinances for second reading. First up, I have second reading of an ordinance number 655 to develop the jointly owned and operated industrial business park in conjunction with Greenville County pursuant to South Carolina Code of Laws 1976, Section 4-1-170, as amended. Such industrial business park to be at the time of its initial development geographically located in Pickens County, and to include certain property located at the intersection of Highway 123 and Highway 124, to provide for a written agreement with Greenville County providing for the expenses of the park, the percentage of revenue application, and the distribution of fee in lieu of ad valorem tax and matters related thereto. Ask for a motion and a second.
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Councilman Stato was, I was for. Okay, perfect. That carries. Item B, second reading of ordinance number 656, authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreements by and between Pickens County, Carolina Handling LLC and SC Speedway 124 LLC, each acting for itself or one or more project sponsors, pursuant to which the county will covenant to accept certain negotiated payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to certain facilities within the county, the benefits of the multi-county industrial or business park to be made available to the company and to the project, and other matters related thereto. I ask for a motion and second that constitutes second reading.
Motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. And that carries. Item C, second reading in title only of ordinance number 657, authorizing the conveyance of property of the Pickens County, South Carolina, to a company known to the county at this time as Project Pigeon, approving a purchase and sale agreement in connection with such property conveyance and other matters related thereto. I ask for a motion and a second.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Chairman? Oh, sorry.
Councilwoman Lovell.
I believe this conversation came up before, but after second reading, isn't there, or I had made a request last year that after second reading, we can make more public what kind of company it is so that the public can give us any feedback before third reading. I don't know if Mr. Farley's here or.
He is, Mr. Farley is here.
I don't know what exact, we had talked at some point that we should be able to move, to share a little bit more with the public what happens after second reading is approved before third reading, so we can get more feedback. This is the first time that's happened since I made that request, and I was just wondering if that's something that we could do this time around. I mean, do I need to make a motion?
Something that we can do.
Okay, we can talk about that later.
I mean, do we?
That's a question. Do we need to vote on that?
We need to vote to make that a rule if that's something we're gonna do. Now, if the Economic Development Office feels comfortable with sharing information, that's great, that's wonderful, but to officially change the rules to require that, it would require that being a rule change, if you will.
Okay, so maybe.
Yeah.
That would work. Okay, I will bring that up in committee.
Councilman Sato.
You're not required of that. You can say anything you want.
Right.
I mean, there's no rule that says you can't speak, announce that. But the issue is if it's an issue where we're negotiating and it's still fluid and you just announce all this to the public, it may affect the negotiations.
Right,
You can do that.
Right.
I've done it in our events when things were going bad and I told the public, but you're not here in the school board. But, sometimes you have to do that, but in this case, you're not restricted. I don't believe.
No, you're not. I
You
mean,
use
absolutely.
discretion, you use discretion.
It's right, and I'm not interested in ruining our negotiating power. I just think the public should know more, for all the words you just said, about what some of these companies are before we get to third reading.
Yeah, the only thing I'm asking for is just something in writing on the final terms and figures. We didn't get anything in our packet. I mean, I know we discussed them. I have a sense of what they are, but I just want to see it in writing.
Yes, sir.
Next reading.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. All right. Ordinance is for third reading. I have to go back to my log now. Ordinance is for third reading. It should be 629 to consider certain amendments to the Pickens County Unified Development Standard Ordinance considered specifically by the Pickens County Council after the subject issues were returned to the Committee of the Whole prior to third readings on January the 8th. Specifically, UDSO amendments related to RV parks and campgrounds, townhome, and multifamily residence. I'll ask for a motion and a second for third reading.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Sato.
my motion is to vote on townhomes and duplexes as one, apartments as another item, and RVs as another item. So 3 separate ones. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a motion, and if you don't mind, restate.
We're just going to vote on these separately rather than all at once, so we can,
What was the order you spit them out in?
it was be townhomes and duplexes as one, because that rule is the same. Apartments as another, that's a different rule, and then RV parks is another vote, so that'd be 3 rules.
So the motion on the table is to split it out, 3 separate, townhomes, duplexes, apartments, and then RV parks. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. I'll ask for a motion to constitute third reading of the townhome and duplex ordinance as amended.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Second, discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is, how do you define, the planning department define a unit? For example, when you read DSO, which is, I think it's 314, it says townhomes on sewer in the Appalachian and agriculture area have 4 units per acre. Now, is that 4 living units? Or would it be 4 structures of townhomes, which would be 12 units? Because there's 3 units, there's 3 living units in each townhome. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So so the rule is, you're on sewer, townhomes is 4 units per acre. Now, how many dwellings or living units or living quarters is that for townhomes?
Also 4.
It's 4.
Yes, they're treated as a single-family unit.
Okay, that's good. So a duplex would be considered 2 units.
Correct.
Okay, that answers my question. Okay, the only comment I have here is that for the heritage area, and this is why I voted against this the first time, is that the heritage area, it mirrors the city of Pickens or the nearby city. In this case, for me, it's the city of Pickens. So the DSO right now for townhomes on Seward is 4 units per acre. Now, if we mirror the city of Pickens, it's going to jump to 8 units or potentially 16 units, depending on where you're hitting. Pickens has 2 different regulations for town. They got an RM8, they got an RM16. So what it's going to do in that heritage area around the city, it's going to raise the counties from 4 units to potentially 8 units per acre, or maybe 16, so we'll double or quadruple it. I don't support that. That's too dense.
How'd
So-
you get to 16?
Well, because it comes from the city of Pickens. So the city of Pickens, so if I have to mirror the city of Pickens in the heritage area, the city of
Just for
Pickens,
clarification, heritage is a bunch of,
Let him finish.
I see.
Councilman Sota. Councilman Sota.
okay, so the city of Pickens, for townhomes, there are a RM8 or RM16, that is 8 units per acre or 16 units per acre. Now, we're at 4. So if we change the rule from 4 to mirroring Pickens, we're going to double or maybe quadruple that in my area. Now, easily will be different. It's got different rules, and Liberty has different rules. I haven't looked those up. But I know in my area, it's going substantially higher. And I can't vote for it. That's one of the reasons I voted against it.
Vice Chairman Castro.
Yeah, you say heritage, you mean there's not just a heritage area, natural heritage, is that what you mean?
Yeah, sure.
Natural is, that's the blue one around Pickens.
Okay,
That one's mirroring, isn't it, on the townhomes,
that's what I'm trying to,
right? That's the road. So we'll discuss.
so, Mr. Say, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that the heritage area, natural heritage area will remain, what the current DSO standard is for sewer and septic, which septic is 2 units per acre and sewer is 4 units per acre for townhomes. So that's why I'm changing that to.
We'll have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Second by Councilman Lawless. Discussion on that motion.
So to be clear, you've got an acre of land and you think someone's going to build 2 townhouses on an acre?
Well, if there's, well, when you say townhouse, you're talking about 1 unit, right? So a townhome in your mind is
Right.
1 unit.
But they're usually not a town, I mean, usually it's not called a townhome until you've also built it.
Exactly.
Because they're right next to each other. So now you've got, someone's got an acre of land and you think they're going to come build 2 houses right next to each other on a whole acre?
On septic,
Yes.
yes. And I believe DHEC will probably force them to do that.
Okay, well-
Sewer's the issue.
Sewer,
You got me
yeah,
on
on sewer, I'm sorry.
You got me
I'm
on sewer, which is 4.
On an acre.
Yeah.
So each townhome, okay.
So there'll be 4 units
They're on a
on 1 acre for sewer and heritage. But septic, 2 units per acre. I think DHEC's going to hold us to that, is that right? Yeah, so we're can't decide on that one. I got you on that one, but you got me a second one.
Yeah.
You're saying you should be higher on the second.
Yes,
Okay.
because if I had an acre of land,
You want more than 4 units on?
yes, if you're building townhouses, the point is that they are, you put more together because that's how you get the affordability and the kind of community that people want out of town.
We just disagree with that.
Other discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? All right, so back to the original motion as amended. Any other discussion on that tonight?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilwoman Linville.
I voted against it in committee of the whole because I was interested in seeing more density of townhomes and duplexes as being a more attainable house for many buyers in the county, for retirees and for new homeowners. For the lack of density we've put in the majority of the county, if we're ever going to get any affordability out of a variety of different kinds of houses, we need to allow more density, and as the speaker said, which allows more open space around it. You put, townhouses are actually pretty ideal because you put them close together, then you keep more open space around it. The community feels better. That's why I voted against this, but I'm going to end up, in the committee, I'm going to end up voting yes for this because I believe we need to get out of this moratorium because we've been holding up the building of these for so long.
Vice Chairman Cosner.
The only thing I want to say is, there has been so much talk and so much confusion and so much, I mean, I'll be honest, nonsense that people making up their own things on social media. And I've been inundated with calls, even today. Part of the problem isn't just the decision that we're making, it's with the state and annexation and how the cities just have carte blanche with whatever they want to do. So Councilman Said is saying, wait a minute, we don't need to be way that much more attractive, because the original intent was to become more of a mirroring, but we weren't actually doing that in one of the cities, which is why I'm gonna go along with voting for it. But I don't like any of this as much as everybody else doesn't like any of this, but this is the best of the worst that we have, I guess. My whole thing is, I hope that we will continue our efforts where the county has standing, meaning not that we can tell the municipalities what to do, don't want to do that, don't want to get into your business, but what I do want to be able to do is if you're going to say you're going to annex, then we need to be able to raise our hand and go, time out, who's going to pay for all this stuff and how's this going to work and do we have a real plan in place? So that's what I'm hoping that most people understand is it's more complicated than just one thing. It is at the state level with annexation, and we've got to work towards that legislation.
Another thing I do want to make clear, and I heard this in public forum tonight, and I can understand exactly how it could feel like, when we speak of mirroring or whatever, that it would appear that we're giving away representation, but the thought and the idea behind that is, number one, to the point that you just made. Number two is the fact that municipalities can't just change these things on a whim. There is a process, just like we have a process for everything we do. We put a moratorium in place to go through this. There's nothing stopping future councils from doing the exact same thing as soon as cities begin to talk about expanding or making it where you can do more or even less. If it's not what that council wants to do at the time. So it's not a total write-off for eternity. It is try to get the thought processes to try to get no more, no less, inline kind of mirror to stop the annexation piece. Since the state hasn't stepped up to do that, it was a tool meant for that. So I did think it's important to mention that. Other discussion?
You don't mind?
Dr. Wilson.
Just make sure we clarify. Once we've mirrored whatever is existing currently, it doesn't automatically adjust to whatever the cities decide to do. That was a big piece of the discussion we had, and I'd like to make sure that's represented publicly. It won't change because easily that's something dumb or Pickens is something smart. It's fixed until the council itself, our council, goes in to adjust it. We're crystal clear on that, right?
Yeah, Dr. Wilson, we've looked at that question, and with interest actually. And, our belief is that it is what you pass today. So it's whatever the municipality's ordinance is today that you're mirroring. So if the municipality changes, then council, if you want to change what you've got, you can change it, but it doesn't automatically change what we've got. It's set what it is, how planning is going to administer that. Does that answer your question? I do have one point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. On the motion itself, Mr. Sater, is your motion as to duplexes and townhomes? We went back and forth talking from duplexes to townhomes, and they have the same mirroring language in both of them. And I wasn't sure whether you wanted to amend.
Yeah, you're right.
Townhomes
What
or
happened, the
duplexes.
motion was we would handle townhomes and duplexes at the same time, and then everyone would
Both.
try.
And as a further clarification, you are just removing the mirroring from the natural heritage, because both of those also say natural heritage and community center areas. So you're just removing the mirroring from natural heritage areas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So what, I guess we'll just clarify. My motion is for the duplexes and the townhomes, that they're gonna remain the current DSO standard, which would be 4 units per acre. I guess septic is 2 units per acre? That's my motion. Does that sound right to everybody?
We voted on that motion, correct?
Yeah.
We did vote on that motion. Yeah, that's that one.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So that was the amendment.
Yeah, gotcha, sorry.
So as amended is what's sitting on the table. Any other discussion? Y'all are really making me earn my money tonight.
You say the amended motion one more time just to make sure?
Absolutely. The amended motion is exactly what was presented with the change in the natural heritage area being what the current UDSO is, which is 4 on sewer and 2 on septic.
That's for townhomes and
Townhomes and
Duplexes.
duplexes.
So we're not mirroring,
Only in,
only in natural heritage.
nope,
We're not mirroring in natural heritage.
that is correct.
I'm good with it.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. Next up would be apartments as presented by committee. I ask for a motion and second to constitute third reading for apartments.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
second.
Any discussion?
Chairman, same for me. I voted no in committee of the whole because I think that, again, apartments allow several people to live together without sprawl. They are easier to serve by county services and greatly in demand in this area. So I was hoping that we would be able to build more apartments. So I voted no against it, but at this point I will be voting yes because it's time to get the moratorium off of them. Hopefully we can revisit it later.
So I just want to ask for clarification, 8 units. What is the definition of 8 units? How many dwellings is that? Okay. Want to make sure we're all clear there. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. And then finally would be RV parks. Ask for a motion and a second to constitute third reading of RV parks as submitted from committee.
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion on RV parks.
When will the moratorium end on these? It will end.
After third reading tonight.
After tonight?
Vice Chairman Costner.
For clarification, this has to do with RV parks and campgrounds, not RVs as single or as individual dwellings on personal property.
That is correct. That is a whole nother section. Any other discussion? Dr. Wilson.
I just wanted to point out that some of the folks took exception to the character of the discussion that we had. Folks that reached out to me with the message that as a business model, the demographics associated with the campground experience tends to be a little bit more well-heeled tourism focused. The folks that are looking to stay in homes for a longer period of time at a campground, 6 months, seem to be reasonable to everybody. But we're not talking about shanty towns, we're not talking about the kind of things that just immediately degrade into drug use. In a lot of cases, like I think somebody pointed out, you can't have older than a 10-year RV. You have to have quite a few requirements because folks want to get a premium. Being, living in a capitalist society, a lot of the discussion that we had nothing to do with let's attend to the public good. It had a lot more to do than with some of the preconceived notions that some of us have about these types of businesses. So ultimately, it's my hope that we're not going to be penalizing or curtailing the opportunity for more of these services to be provided in our community. Lots of the good reasons folks mentioned tonight and folks shared with me when they called.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries. Should be all items for third reading, which now brings us to other agenda items this evening, which is consideration of 30% A-tax funding applications as authorized by action under agenda item 5A-1. Ms. Fowler, Mr. Roper, Ms. Fowler.
So on the, this, just to clarify, this is for the special funding opportunity?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we opened that last Tuesday evening. The application went live. It ran well, not last Tuesday evening, almost 2 weeks ago. It ran for a week, and then we kept it open at the administrator's request until Friday, November 1st. We had a total of 4 applications. 2 of those, the organizations were not eligible. One of them is a great organization for 65% funding, so we reached out to them to let them know to reapply in the next cycle for that funding. One of them was an organization that does not market the whole county, and so it's not applicable for that. So of the ones that we received, one of them was a joint application between Lake Hartwell Country and Discover Upcountry, which are the 2 organizations that came and spoke to you at the committee meeting. And then also the Ag and Art for Pickens County. So you have both of those proposals in front of you. Lake Hartwell Country and Discover Upcountry asked for $96,000. There's $96,600 in that account right now. And then under Holly Springs is their DBA Ag and Art Tour requested $3,000.
Did you say 3?
Yep. Could you please repeat how much is in how much we are required by state law to spend right now?
As much as possible, but there it is $96,600 remaining in the account right now.
Mr. Chairman,
That is through fiscal year 23.
Vice Chairman Cosner.
we're not required. We're required to spend it in this manner. But if we don't spend it
We are required to spend it within 2 years.
within 2 years, okay.
And this is from, and you said
This
that
is
96.
fiscal year 23 up until fiscal year 23.
So this money needs to be spent by,
July. All of it by July, but something by this week.
I make a motion to fully fund the Holly Springs Center request and to give the remaining funds in the account to the joint project between Lake Hartwell Country and Discover.
I'll second that.
discussion on the motion.
Mr. Costa, what's your opinion?
I don't really, that's why I'm trying to formulate one as quickly as I can. What were the other, so the other ones, are they on here, the ones that said,
They're not on here, no, because they are not eligible.
okay, so we don't even get to see that, okay. Can you at least go into a little bit more detail about what the 96,000 is going for, so that we can get a little clarity on, I mean, first of all, it's very small print, and I'm trying to read as fast as I can, and listen, it's hard for me to do.
I understand, it's a pretty extensive application, but they did take all of your recommendations that were discussed at the prior meeting and basically put together a plan to be the destination marketing organization for Pickens County. Since we do not have one as a separate nonprofit, their idea is to do that for us in partnership with us. That partnership will come out of our new communications office that has our tourism and branding under them now. And so they will coordinate on what types of things they market, what it looks like, who it goes to, all of that. So they will basically be our acting DMO.
And here, to your point, I remember, Mr. Cosner, you had said specifically, are you talking about the events we have here? And this says we'll be doing Pickens County specific events.
It doesn't say.
Cultural heritage. Pickens County. So it's when they presented to us previously, Ms. Valley, it was generally, like, it was this general upstate. And there's a picture of a waterfall that said come upstate.
Right.
This proposal is for them to come specifically market, come be a tourist in Pickens County specifically.
Correct.
Here are some events, here's some places, here's where to go. Okay.
Correct. The breakdown of the funds, targeted digital advertising is 40%, so 38,400. Social media marketing is 40%, so 38,400, and print media is 20%, which is 19,200.
And I assume they have an obligation to show impact numbers, ROI, anything like that at the end?
Absolutely, they have that spelled out as well as how they get all of those numbers. They also included a very wide range for their target audience.
Yeah, so, Mr. Say, to answer your question, it is a step in the right direction. I still, it is a lot of the same, language that they used before, where they're saying we're gonna target young travelers and retirees to Pickens County key attractions, events, and activities. It's talking about, using the URLs to track engagement visitors. It doesn't give us I don't see it on here, number of impressions, and it's still using a lot of print and a lot of the things that they're accustomed to doing through the social media, print. I would love to see this council in the future step into at least this decade and figure out a way to market more to specific target audiences based on where you're trying to get them to come to, and get, now that you can track everything,
It's
you can.
Google ads and display ads for, it's 40%.
I got it, but they're talking, okay, Google ads and display ads, that sounds great, let's do some search. SEO, and let's just do, those are just words, how many impressions, who's gonna see it? I see a little bit about who our target is, but we've broadened that, so we wanna reach everybody, and specifically in, what areas are we, where are we focusing our attention? It looks like a lot of, again, through the magazines, we'll have QR codes to offer readers, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Southern Living, and not against any of these things, but it's not, it's a step in the right direction, it's just not as comprehensive as I would like to see.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Slater.
I agree with you. And basically, this is state money. You stay in a hotel, charge 2% extra. The state gives some of that much money back to each county. You then have to use that money for tourism. 30% of that money has to go to advertising. It's got to be done by a nonprofit. It's not like we can take it and advertise the Haygood Mill or, market it to Mill. We have to farm it out to a nonprofit. Now, the issue that Mr. Costner brought up, and I totally agree with, is if you look at what they're doing, they're taking this money and it's very generic. Come to the upstate, that kind of thing. And, to make it more effective, he's in marketing, he's basically saying, all right, well, there's an event at the Haygood Mill, this nonprofit needs to market it directly, the Haygood Mill, the date is this, or the zip line guy. He's got the biggest zip line company in the upstate or the state. He needs to be marketed, but specifically for Pickens County. So you see that. Not only that, but how effective is it? How many views and how many clicks or whatever the words are. And that just isn't happening. They made a great presentation, but it was very generic. Now, this is the responsibility of the ATAX committee, which is a state committee, for the state money. They need to drill down on this. And they need to say, present your plan isn't good enough, we're not going to accept it. And we want it more specific in this. They got 4 or 5 months to do that. Now, that's the hope next year, right?
We agree with that.
So I asked the question, how much of this money has to be spent in the next whatever? What's the time period on that? Because if it's give money back to the state or spend money on Pickens County, I would much rather spend money on Pickens County. Don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I don't want to give it back to the state to not be able to spend anything on Pickens County.
Right. There is, I do. So from fiscal year 21, there's 10,900 remaining. From fiscal year 22, 56,860 remaining. And fiscal year 23, 63,486 remaining. So all of those together total that 126 number, which was the original one. Y'all have already allocated 30,000 of that. So 126,604 minus 30,000, so 96,604 needs to be allocated
Put 62 of that. we
by
have-
July. So if you take the 63,486 out, I did not do math in my head very well, but that's 56,860 for fiscal year 22 and 10,922 for fiscal year 21.
So we have until July before we'll lose money.
On the 63.
On the 63.
The rest of it.
But the other two need to be spent. So approximately 67,000.
I sell for a living, and the best time to sell was yesterday. It's too late today. We have money allocated, and we've not been doing anything. Take a step forward, and then fix as you go. Take a step forward and use the feedback we get, see the impact of it. You know, don't lose money and don't hold off. I mean, if they get out there and they meet the requirements of what we discussed, and they sit in the room for a very painful hour, listening to Mr. Costner beat him up, because he clearly has, professional background in this, which is very, very helpful to understanding the issues that we have. But no advertising is going to get us a hell of a lot less people coming here than some advertising. And then the other piece of it is 20% is going toward print media, which is, they like to put stuff at rest stations and all the places where tourists will just stop and kind of see. I think that print media died about 15 years ago personally. So all the young adults they're talking about are never going to see them. I would like to see it, a smaller amount there, but at the end of the day, can't let perfection stand in the way of progress, and we're not doing any of this now. So let's take a swing at this. You can't do anything with positive good. Unless there's a shantytown trailer park tourism that I'm missing that's going to bring the wrong element here.
This is my professional background as well, and I do want to commend this group for having taken what looks like a lot of our feedback from Committee of the Whole. They have items here. We will focus on local events, festivals, and attractions such as the Pickens Azalea Festival, Haygood Mill, the Pickens County Performing Arts Center. We'll be using Instagram, which we all know Pickens County looks beautiful in photos. In order to make sure we're hitting younger audiences and adventurers, we're going to showcase events and outdoors as well as historical landmarks. They have a large percentage that's in digital and display ads, as well as social media, Facebook, Instagram. They are doing high visibility for the older crowd that is more likely to still be reading Southern Living. They've listed the exact geographic locations of where they're going to be within 50 miles of some of our major nearby cities. I commend them for, in the very short amount of time we gave them, for clearly listening to what we put forward and having a variety of approaches to this. And I think it's also telling that because of the limitations the state puts on these funds, when they have to be spent, the fact that it has to be a nonprofit, and that our county government is very small for a county of our size. And one thing we don't have is a large interior marketing team and communications team, that if they can partner, and basically we're getting state funds from tourists to help us attract more tourists. And there is a nonprofit group that meets all the requirements, listen to us for 1 hour and put together a plan that seems pretty thorough. I think this is a great starting point, and we will look at the success rates of it, and the ATAX committee after a year can get the feedback and see if we need to do anything differently next year.
Chairman Costner.
So I'm actually going to vote to support it, or persuaded me, but I mean, to me, all I'm asking is that going forward, please look at the persuasive messaging. It's not about the tool that you use, it's about the message that you send and the target consumer that you're going after. The person going to Haygood Mill is completely different than somebody that's going to some other type of event, or, I mean, maybe that's not a good example, because we all like to go to Haygood Mill, but there are different people who like different things, and the messaging matters to me even more so than the tool that you use to deliver the message. And to Councilman Wilson's point, yeah, I don't understand a big push on print, because I think that has fallen by the wayside. I don't know people that have come rushing in from anywhere going, hey, I saw this in the magazine, I wanted to come see you. So, but I'm going to vote to support it because of what you said, Dr. Wilson and Ms. Lincoln.
Other discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Law.
So we're looking at spending the entire amount of it,
That's correct.
not just what we have to
That's
before
correct.
time's up.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Brings me to item 13 on tonight's agenda, which will be executive session. I'll ask for a motion in a second. We go to executive session for contractual review of notice of taxing entities from the city of Clemson related to proposed tax instrument financing, and then for personnel matters related to the Pickens County Library System. I have a motion and a second that we go to executive session for these two items.
Motion.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Linville?
Mr. Roper, Mr. Hendricks, I've had a lot of people ask me about the Clemson tax and why would we be discussing that in executive session instead of in public? Can you let me know why we're going to executive session for that?
So the item that's on the agenda tonight is because we received notice from the city of Clemson about their TIF. So we want to make sure that you receive legal advice on how that process works. It's not to talk about the substantive nature of that TIF. This is not the moment. We would not be allowed. It'd be inappropriate to do that in an executive session.
Okay.
This is just to receive the legal advice.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
I have a point of order, a slightly separate issue. We, in the committee, we talked about development fees. It didn't get passed out of committee and got tabled. Some of the folks were thinking that we were going to be talking about, the table tonight. It died in committee, correct? Fair enough.
Other discussion about executive session this evening? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that carries, and we'll return after what's hopefully a brief executive session. Hopefully.